So I've been thinking about doing this video for a while, and it's quitting smoking. Um, I've been smoking, sort of socially smoking, as I'd like to say in my own head, for the past about 11 years, maybe 10 years. Started kind of when I was 17, 18. I remember the first day I started smoking, I was on a night out and I was talking to a few friends, and I never thought it was something that I do, but I was in a time in my life where I thought, you know, one, I'm not the type of person to get addicted to something, and number two, it seemed really cool on a night out to smoke, and they just seemed so relaxed, especially on a night out. So it's like, well, one cigarette's not going to hurt me, and it never does, right? But it says it takes you 100 cigarettes to get addicted to smoking. Um, and I guess I made my way to 100 no problem after a while. So I remember that day I smoked and I thought nothing of it, and I wasn't, didn't want to do it again anytime soon. And then, I just finished school at this point, and then I was going out quite a bit with people, and there was a kind of a cool aspect of it, and smoking thing seemed right, and all the people that I liked chatting to liked to smoke as well, and especially on nights out or whatever, and it was a great way to meet new people, and because I mean, especially at that age, I really wanted to meet new people all the time, women, and people with the same interests as me, and it just seemed natural that people that smoked had the kind of that creative edge anyways in Ireland that non-smokers have. I mean, that's just my opinion now, maybe I'm wrong, or I've always felt that if you're a smoker, you're probably in some way kind of deep, because a part of you admits to the fact that there's daily suffering going on, and then to try quench that suffering, one would have a smoke and they'd feel slightly better, until they went and smoked again. So I always thought there was people who smoked, there was always a darker edge to them, and a deeper edge that I was interested in. So it only made sense that I sort of started taking up smoking. And and then when I was 19, when I was 20, I think I was in college, and then I was sort of smoking full time then, and just, and still convinced I wasn't a smoker, and still convinced I could stop at any stage. And I'd have like 5 a day and wouldn't consider myself a smoker. I just liked the relaxation. And that went on, and then third year college came by, and I was kind of off and on with smokes. So it was always borrowing smokes off people, I was probably smoking every day because I was asking people who smoked could I have a smoke, and I hated the fact I was binging off people, but and then you play games, like you'll do it in favors, mad shit like that, and then you'll ask people for cigarettes, all the while thinking, it's not something that I was addicted to. College finished, then I was kind of back at home for a while, and I was smoking at night time. I'd literally do mad stuff, like I'd go down to the petrol station, buy a box of cigarettes, I'd smoke two, and then I'd go home, and then I'd wait until night time when people were asleep again, and I'd drive off down to the shop and I'd buy cigarettes and smoke two, and then try out the box. Still convinced I wasn't really addicted to smoking, still convinced I'd quit any time. I just liked the relaxation aspect of it. Then I went to drama school, and I tried to get more strict with myself and not smoke at all, and I did that, but then I was still binging smokes off people now and again. And then one of the lads in the house is a smoker, so I was getting one at break here and there, and then I was buying a box, and then every night out I was, this is like 3 years ago, every night out I always bought a box of cigarettes, and I'd smoke that 20, and still convinced I wasn't a full-time smoker, even though I was probably smoking 30 a week, for on a lot of weeks. And then there'd be 4 days when I didn't smoke, and that proved to me that I wasn't a smoker. And so 2 years of drama school went by, and I was that on and off smoking. I tell people I'm not a smoker, only smoking nights out, and I believed that. And then and the last 2 years I've I was doing the same thing again. I went to this place called Bow Street. This was a film school, and I was, so I'm not a smoker. I was smoking less around this time. To be fair, the last 3 years I was smoking less, but saying to myself, oh, I'm not a smoker, going out having a smoke, with people, and then buying a box of cigarettes on a night out and smoking them, and still convinced. And then 2000, and then it was 2016, and I remember Christmas 2016. Like, I've been saying I'm gonna finish off never smoking again for like 6+ years, even though I was saying I wasn't a smoker, and then I admitted to myself around March or so that I'm actually a smoker. There's no two ways about it. I know this has taken a long way to get around to this point, of actually admitting to myself that I'm addicted to nicotine, that I'm a smoker, and there's no two ways about it. I'm addicted to this, even if that means some days I don't smoke and some days I do. I still go back to it when I feel like shit. I'll always have a smoke, like really shit. I'll find a smoke, and there was mad times, like I'm looking for tobacco in bins and stuff. I'm scraping tobacco off, like looking for tobacco in pockets from nights out, or the end of a cigarette box that's lying around the house, just desperate shit. And all the while still thinking I wasn't truly addicted to cigarette smoking, which is just mad. It's mad that I convinced myself of that. But the moment I completely admit to myself I'm addicted to cigarettes, this is a problem for me. It's going to take a lot of conscious effort for me to pull myself off smoking, because also there's this big emotional attachment I had to smoking, because I didn't smoke all the time. There wasn't a regular time I would smoke, but I definitely smoked when I felt like shit, and I definitely smoked when like there was a lot of suffering going on with me internally, especially like sort of suffering centered at the solar plexus. That's when I 100% have a smoke, because I just wanted to get rid of that feeling. But on another level, I didn't even realize that I knew I was getting rid of that by having a smoke, that feeling, that suffering feeling, that but at the same time I didn't really know what kind of effect it was having on me. But seeing as I trained as an actor and I didn't smoke all the time, when I did smoke, coming up to the last 2 years, I'd have a cigarette, and I was maybe having one a day for a while, and after I'd have a smoke, I'd feel so sick. I'd roll myself up in my bed, like in the fetal position, and I felt really sick. And I guess because going through drama school, you get more embodied as you go along, and especially I was meditating a lot at the time, and I'm starting to key in more into my body, so I knew what was making me feel bad and what wasn't making me feel bad, and I could really get a sense that like smoking was making me feel really ill, and I really needed to stop this. Well, and also I thought it was embarrassing that I would constantly tell myself that I had great willpower, but here I can't give up smoking. But it was like the last frontier of addictions I thought that I had. And then of course about 2 years ago I read this book by Gabor Mate called In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, and he taught me about addiction, and I would have thought that I had an addictive personality, but I have a more obsessive personality where I get obsessed with an idea, and then I divulge that idea, and I zone in and narrow in it, and I want to know everything about that idea so I can grasp it and use it, and build a better perspective for myself, a psychological perspective or a philosophical perspective of life. But I guess that's a true artist kind of way of thinking, or dyslexic way of thinking. But anyways, I read this book, and this Gabor Mate he's a doctor who, I can't think of the word, who deals with patients with heroin addiction, and he makes comparisons to the addictive problems of his patients, to his own addiction to classical music, I think it was, and other sorts of things. But anyways, the takeaway points I took away from that book was that everyone has addictions. These are patterns that we do over and over again that don't result in anything different. And we expect a different result, but we get the same result, and we keep doing that, expecting that we'll be healed somehow. And the repetitive nature of an addiction, there's some comforting quality to it. And so also I learned, I can be very cold about people and things sometimes, and I guess I learned a lot about empathy with that book, and that you can never get rid of addiction. It'll all, you think you come away from one addiction and then it kind of goes into another addiction, I since reading that book was kind of the moment I was like, okay, I want to knock this smoking thing on its head, and then I have it written up on my wall. On the 17th of December 2016, I quit smoking, and I said, okay. I tried a few times, and then I kind of semi-relapsed. Now, I never really had a big problem with smoking, and I was lucky because I didn't smoke too much, but I can only assume that if you're someone that smokes 20 days, this is an incredibly tough feat, because, max I was smoking 4 a day, but for me to just completely quit this, the first, and I was writing it down every day. Okay, that's 1 day gone, that's 2 days gone, that's 3 days gone, and so on and so forth. And as it went along, those first 2 weeks were really difficult, but I'd done that before, and I'd come off cigarettes for 2 weeks, and then I'd just go back. As a present to myself for being so self-disciplined, I'd have a cigarette. That's the smoker's logic. Look, I can go 2 weeks without smoking. Okay, here, then I'll have a cigarette. But anyways, so 2 weeks went by, and then that was really tough. And then another week went by, and that was even more tough. And then another week went by, and then it started to die down a bit. But I'd still have cravings now and again. And my biggest fear was a night out, because that's where I associated smoking. I survived the night out not smoking, but the cravings were so intense on a night out, and my daily cravings were very little, and that was really interesting. My daily cravings were almost nothing at this point, coming around 4 weeks. But then I went on a night out, and the whole time on that night out, all I could think about was smoking. And every time I go out now, that's the only time I think about going back on cigarettes. And every now and again, I'll think about smoking, but it's very rare, it's very rare. So I'm lucky, because I never smoked a shit lot, even though I've been smoking for 11, 10 years. But I'll never go back now. I don't think I will anyways. I hope I don't. Well, they say it's the most addictive substance on the planet, akin to heroin, so we'll see. But one of the things I've learned about quitting smoking is that, and I assume it's like any addiction, you think you need it, but it dulls some sensory stuff in you, or some instinctive stuff in you, especially smoking. And my ability to learn things, I think, has been better since I've withdrawn from smoking, and my discipline has been much better since I've stopped smoking. I'm dealing with things a lot better now. It's had a huge psychological knock-on effect, and I think also, because I did the self-authoring suite. You can check my videos out on my channel. In tandem with the self-authoring suite and quitting smoking have probably been the two biggest turning points in motivation for me to really pursue my goals. Those are the two big things, simple things that I've done that have really pushed me on to pursue my goals. But I think the conduit really was the quitting of smoking. And since I quit smoking, I've just done so much, and I swear it was blocking me from becoming more of what I want to become. I know that sounds cliche or whatever, but I assume it's like, you know, I remember I was on holidays in Barcelona before with a friend of mine, and we we got into this habit of having McDonald's every day, and I swear I would crave that McDonald's every day at that, because we had the McDonald's at the same time, and this for a week period, and every day I would crave coming up to that point to getting the McDonald's, and it was a shock. I was like, oh my god, I need this, you know, McDonald's. Then I'd have the food and I'd feel so much better, and then an hour after that I'd feel shit again, and then I'd want another one later on that night, and I think all, you know, foods and smoking or habits that are really detrimental, like, you know, bad food, smoking, which is, you know, terrible for you, uh, they all have the same effect, you know. You think you need it just to quench your suffering, and it does for a few seconds, and then it just makes it worse. It adds an edge, as I like to say. You think you're removing an edge, but it just adds another edge. So anyways, if you're thinking of quitting smoking, think about the motivational side of things when quitting, because it's really pushed me on to do things I think I wouldn't have done, and I think I've been more brave since then. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. And stay tuned. I'm gonna do another video on not drinking soon enough. I think that's interesting because, you know, in Ireland drink is a huge culture, and I've kind of avoided that. Okay, so I'll see you later.